We're back with Professor Jason Johnson, an MSNBC contributor. Jason, I took some time to note that it's perfectly fine to have what they used to call a hawkish or aggressive trade plan. People debate that. Today, what we see is another way that the incompetence, the lack of planning, the overreach is a practical failure. And so if you liked an aggressive trade plan, that's bad because you're losing the plan. And if you didn't like it, it's even worse because you're saying bad idea, poorly executed, America loses. What do you think about that point that's new today and wasn't true a week ago?
Well, I think you're exactly right, Ari. The issue that I would have is I don't think that the execution, there is no execution that can be well done for a plan that is poorly conceived. Right? Like, I don't think Donald Trump or this administration ever made the end goal very, very clear. So there was no way they could execute this well. Were you really going to get China to capitulate on 90% of the things that we were asking for? No. Were you going to get that to happen to England? No. Did they anticipate, did they message the American people about what the impact of reciprocal trades and what a trade war would look like? No. So when you don't have a plan, your execution's always garbage, and it makes them look incompetent, even if theoretically you can make an argument that this aggressive stance has some backing.
Yeah, I understand the distinction you draw there. I think that's interesting to think about. I want to read more from the coverage of what was this smackdown. Taken together, the nation's effective tariff rate could fall to 7 from 18 if Trump continues down the path of losing this, if he can't reinstate the steepest duties that have been paused. That's according to an expert from Yale's budget lab. And then the Times notes, even then, this is sort of the legal line, there's still some leftover powers that wouldn't be expunged by this ruling, and that would still be a high tariff rate dating back to '69 to find a higher one, which could, quote, shrink the rate of the nation's growth and still raise prices for consumers. I know everyone likes to say, oh, why do we have these limits and rules? It's pretty striking to see that if this ruling holds and they limit his powers, that's still how far he would go, taking us back to the 60s.
Right. And here's the thing. The impact of this, if you listen to what the Trump administration has always argued, Ari, is that we're going to make these things more expensive from abroad so that we can build up here. That's been his theory. That was his theory of the case, as people use the term. But here's the problem. In the short term, right, the consequences of having these tariffs this high, the some that he can get back, some that he's lost on, right, it's already having an impact on heading into the summer months tourism, right? There has been a $10 billion estimated drop. We're going to have a $10 billion estimated drop in tourism from parts of Europe alone this year because of the instability with the tariffs. People don't want to visit here. People are concerned coming in from Canada. People are concerned coming in from Mexico. And that is a negative result of these tariffs. So whether or not it ends up being a power move for him, a long-term loss or a short-term loss, the American people, all the businesses out there that make money, all the tourism around this country that usually makes money will already be damaged, and that can't be fixed no matter what a judge rules.
I hear you on that. Related is how the abuse of power is often correlated with a bad idea, which is why there are the rules in the first place. I know it's funny that in this era of norm busting, sometimes people sound like everybody wants to be the hall monitor or a cop. You know, not all rules are perfect, but some of them make sense. For example, the rule that you can't pass an executive order just targeting dissent or your opponents, because then other presidents might do it. Here's what the Wall Street Journal, Fox News sister outlet in the Murdoch empire, says about that. The abuse of executive power isn't justified under the Constitution. Trump should now cut his losses before he goes 0 for 9 to the Supreme Court. That's the Journal drawing the line there on the law firm abuse, which is just like, according to this new ruling, the tariff abuse. You keep losing if you just claim powers you don't have.
You are going to keep losing, but that's assuming that your goal was to win. As opposed to, I think, some of the people in this administration, their goal is to see how far they can push things. Can we push the envelope, right? Will there be consequences? Yeah. Will there be a revolt within our own party? Will voters get mad because they're popping tags all summer because they can't afford things? Like, are they going to get mad? So I think there's still a victory in this for Trumpists and Trumpism in general, because every time they lose in the courts, they get to see how far they can go, and then they try and find another point of weakness so he can exploit whatever executive powers he thinks he has.
Very fair point, and that speaks to people who may not care about the impact. If you don't care about all the impacts on other people, then you lose to make a point because you say, oh, look at my political messaging, look at my trolling. I believe you referenced We Be Poppin' tags. Tell us the artist.
That would be Macklemore from your hometown, making a reference to the thrift shops that people may have to go to this summer if the prices on things continue to skyrocket or don't come down because of tariffs.
See, this is what you could say, oh, I like it because I like music too, but I gotta give you your rhetorical flowers. A precise reference that's in the field of austerity. Macklemore, yes, we got to go to the same high school in Seattle. That thrift shop classic speaks about how there's no shame in the game when you find good items at a thrift shop. Your point being a bad trade policy could force people to the thrift shop more than they want to go. Our hats off to you, Jason.
Thank you.